Hi everyone, this is Sherry and welcome back to my channel and to Recreates. And today I am sharing a layout with you created for the SNL Saturday Stash Dive. And I am teaming up with Teresa, who is Craftin' Mama ML on YouTube. And so you'll want to make sure you check out her video as well because she's doing a stash dive also today and she'll have it posted. So I'll put a link to her channel in the description box below. But we are working on a layout today, and today's stash dive is the topic is flowers. So today is all about flowers. And now I'm not typically, if you see any of my videos, I'm not typically I don't use flowers a lot on layouts. But that was a stash dive, and so I took that on, and I was pretty happy with the way the layout came out. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting the base of my layout. And if you remember a few weeks ago, I did the wreath where I used the strips of papers that I had ran through my Xyron. And so I completed the wreath and I still had all of these strips left over. So I held on to those and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and use those up since this is the stash dive and pull those out and use those up. So I decided to go ahead and use those just in strips as they are. And I'm going to use that as the basis for my photo, to put my photo, put behind my photo. And everything I'm using here is from my stash. I didn't use anything that was from a new kit or anything. It was all things that I just went into my stash and pulled out and used. So I can actually say this whole layout is really a stash dive. And so the papers that I'm using are actually from Pebbles, and they're from the line called From Me to You. And I want to say this is maybe a couple of years old. I had some of that collection, and when I did my wreath a few weeks ago, which was I think our spring, it was like our spring projects when we did that for the SNL design team. I did a wreath, and so I pulled those out for that wreath, and again these are just the strips that were left over, so I wanted to go ahead and put them to use. So you see me here just building up layers. I'm just creating some layers on that background, and I'm doing this cute photo of my niece Coco, and my sister's family had pictures made in December. It was actually part of their Christmas card, and so it was funny. She had a prop there, and so I just thought it was really cute. The contrast between the camo and the red tulle skirt was really kind of cute. So anyway, I'm using that photo for the layout today. And what I'm going to do is I'm just putting a little bit of white gesso over the pattern paper just to kind of tone it down a little bit, kind of mute those colors just a little bit. And you can still certainly see the color through it, just kind of mutes it a little bit, and kind of helps just tone it down a bit. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of mixed media, not a whole lot. I'm just doing some misting and things like that on watercolor type with mist. So I'm going to start my layering all of that on. And like I said, I didn't do a lot of mixed media on this. I was really just I just wanted to pull some color in. So what I did is I went into my scraps of paper, leftover papers that I have, and I was just pulling out papers that I thought might go with the layout because I wanted to build some layers behind the photo. And the photo is kind of a different size. I went with more of a longer format photo this time, longer and skinnier, just for a change, to kind of give it a little bit of variety. And so I'm finding some pattern papers that's going to work. And then I decided to pull out some vellum. I wanted to kind of soften that yellow back behind the photo. And so I'm going to put some vellum right behind the photo and then layer that over the top of the yellow cardstock, which is just plain, of course, no pattern or anything. And so it's going to kind of soften that yellow cardstock a little bit. And so I'm just going to build up a few layers here and begin to put my photo down and kind of just decide on my placement. And I found that red and white striped paper in my stash, and I thought that was perfect and the colors that I wanted to go with. So, and I was going to use the green, but I didn't end up not using it because I just didn't like the red and green together. I didn't want it to look Christmassy, even though she's got red in the photo and green grass. I didn't want to use red and green on the cardstock or on the papers for the layout. So, and I'm going to go ahead and pop those up with some pop dots just to give some dimension on that. And like I said, everything I'm using is in my stash, and all of the product and embellishments and things. You're going to see there's some old product here, to be quite honest with you. And it's just things that I have in my stash. Like that's one thing I really like about the Saturday stash dives, because sometimes we feel so pressured to use the latest, greatest products, and not everybody has that, and we're not able to constantly buy new stuff because it's constantly being thrown at us, which is great and it's fun and I love it. But you know, sometimes we just have the old stuff that we need to use up. And I always say, you know what, in 20 years nobody looking at these albums is even going to know that that wasn't a current product. So it really, you know, doesn't matter, other than just the fun of using a new product. So, you know, it really is encouraging to pull out your things that have been in your stash for a while and get them used up. And that's one thing I really do like about the Saturday stash dives, is that it forces that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start layering some ink. Let me just say I apologize about the lighting. It keeps going really light and dark, and I could not figure out why that was happening, because nothing has changed in my studio. Nothing has changed with the lighting. The only thing that I could figure out, it finally dawned on me, it's probably my black shirt, because every time I reach in, I think the camera's trying to adjust the white balance for my black shirt. So lesson learned not to wear black when I'm filming anymore. Although I wore black before and it didn't do that. So I don't know, maybe it was the way I was by a window, so maybe it had to do with the light. So anyway, I apologize for that fluctuation. I believe that's what it's from. So and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going ahead and I'm doing my watercolor effect using mist. I'm using the Delusions ink spray, which is one of my favorites. I love the Delusions. I just love the color that you get. It's so vibrant. This is lemon zest. And first I did put some gesso on the part that I'm misting. There on the right side I did some clear gesso, and then I'm just layering. I did do a little bit of water on the paper, and then kind of sprinkled the drops. And I'm just kind of just doing a little watercolor effect on the side of the right side of that page there. And I'm actually going over into the pattern paper. I wanted to kind of to cover up a little bit of the pattern paper as well. Oh, that light's just bugging me. I'm so sorry about that. I hope it doesn't bother your eyes too much. And so I'm just kind of layering those on and letting them dry. I'm trying not to get it too wet, because I don't want it to really ruin my paper. And then what I'm taking is the Calypso Teal in the Delusions, and I'm just layering that on. I didn't want to do a lot of that because I didn't want to turn it green. I wanted to try to preserve the blue look to that, and so I'm just dabbing a little bit of that on as well. And I'm gonna shoot it real quick with my heat gun and just try to set it. Like I said, I don't want to keep mixing them because I don't want it to get muddy looking. And I wanted to try a little bit of gelato because I wasn't happy with the way the blue was looking. And yeah, that was kind of just, I wasn't happy with that either. So I'm going to end up covering that up anyway. So then I just put little dots of blue gelato in certain places. Kind of just give it a little bit more blue. And really this is just a layering. You just work with little bits at a time and just layer different, you know, different inks and different, you just layer a little bit at a time. You don't want to do a lot because when you do, it can get really muddy. And so you just want to layer little bits at a time. And so I'm just trying to figure out my placement here, if I've got enough color down. And I did want to leave some white space. So I'm just concentrating the color just in that one or two areas. And then I added a few little ink splatters just for color and contrast up in the left corner. And I'm going to go ahead and layer that on that red stripe, which I like the red stripe. And I have those doilies. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys remember some time ago, those doilies were like the biggest thing. They were like from Martha Stewart and everybody had them. Well, I loved them. They were, and I bought like 4 packages at one time when I found out that they were like kind of being discontinued, and I still have some. So those are definitely pulled from my stash. I love those. I still love those to this day. The red heart there is from Freckled Fawn. That's from a kit that I got from them, I think last year. That was some leftovers. Of course, the black arrow, sequin arrow, that's from Heidi Swap from a couple years ago. And so you can see I've just got a lot of old product that I'm pulling out and trying to just repurpose and make new. The little finger arrow, little finger pointing thing there, I don't know where that was from. It was from I have a box, like a drawer of just doodads and just little pieces like that I just throw in there, maybe left over from a kid, or maybe just, you know, extra that I've gotten from wherever, and I'll just throw pieces in there, and that was in there. So I'm not really sure where that was from. And there's another Heidi Swap piece with the yellow sequin heart. That doesn't end up making the final cut, but I was trying to use it. And then that tag, that brown tag with like the jute string on it, that is actually like from a piece of clothing I have for some time saved, and my husband knows to save tags, and my daughter saves them for me. So tags that come on clothing, you know, some of them are like really cool. And so what I do is I actually save them. I have some of those things thrown in that drawer as well, just, you know, of just little bits and pieces that you can use as filler and as, you know, to fill in layers and just add interest. And so that's what that tag was. And I decided to pull that out just because I thought it kind of looked earthy. I like the brown. I like that jute feel. So kind of added to the whole effect of the photo, I thought. So I decided to use that. And I'm titling this Camo and Curls because my niece is so funny. She's just adorable. She just turned 5 and she's like a girly girl. She loves to dress up. She loves to dress up in fancy clothes and play dress up and, you know, little play heels and all of that. But then the next minute she'll be outside digging in the dirt, getting dirt under her nails in the mud, trashed, just whatever. So it really does fit her because she's like the ultimate tomboy but girly girl. If you can mix the two, she is the perfect combination. So I decided to name it Camo and Curls for her curly hair. And so I'm just layering pieces there. I decided I'm going to use the that for my title, and those letters that I put on, the thickers, are really old. I can't even tell you how old those are. The green ones, gosh, I don't know how old those are. The red ones are pretty old too, and they were just in my stash. So I was diving in my stash this whole layout. I'm telling you guys, I don't think there's anything new on this layout at all. So it is all stash dive, and it just goes to show, you know, you may not be able to afford the latest product or kits and get one of everything new, but you know what, it really doesn't matter. Just get in your stuff, pull it out. You can make it look new, you can do new techniques on it, and it's just a matter of getting the things done. And the product is still cute, it's still nice. There's no reason to just let it go to waste. So don't be discouraged. You know, if you sometimes, you know, when you're on YouTube and you see everybody doing layouts, it's always, oh, this is the new line that just came out. And sometimes you just feel like you can start to feel bad, you know, like, man, I can't seem to keep up and get all this new stuff. But that's okay. You know what? Get out what you've got and put it to use. You know, challenge yourself to do a Saturday stash dive. You know, you may not be forced to do it because you're not on a team or anything, but force yourself to do it. And, you know, issue a challenge to yourself and say, I'm going to get in my stash and I'm going to pull things out and make a layout. Because, you know, the stuff doesn't do any good in drawers. Get it out and use it. And I'm trying to do that myself because I am guilty when it comes to having way too much stash. But again, you know, challenge yourself to do it, and it's just a lot of fun. It's really challenging. It really is, because, you know, you've got old product, but you're trying to make it new and or trying to do new things with it. And it's a lot of fun. So like I said, nobody's going to even know. If I showed this layout to any of my friends or family, they're not even going to have a clue that this is old product. They're going to think it's like the coolest thing. So nobody knows, you know, except somebody else watching it. So, you know, on YouTube or somebody that knows the product. So get it out and use it, and it's a lot of fun. And you're going to watch me here. I'm fussing with these letters. I was trying to make sure the L didn't run into the O, and so I was just fussing with the placement there. So I do finally get it. And I have that little flare badge. It's like a mini flare, and it's got the ampersand, and then it says "and." So I thought it was perfect to use in between those two, the title there. And that's from Studio Calico, and it was like they had them on a sheet, like a little card, and it had all these little mini flare buttons on it. And that's probably, I want to say last year, probably early last year, I want to say. So it's pretty old, and I decided to go ahead and use that, and I'm going to put it on that label just to kind of give it a place to land on the layout. And that's going to be my title. And then I'm trying to find pieces to just fill in. And honestly, at this point, I think I totally forgot about my flowers, because again, the whole focus of this is to use flowers. And like I said, I do have some flowers in my stash, but they weren't really what I wanted to use. There was really nothing that I could really use on a layout because I don't have a lot of flowers. I just don't use them a lot anymore. I used to use flowers all the time, but I just don't use them much anymore. So I decided to make my own flowers, and so you're going to see those here in just a second. I kind of got going on the layout, and I almost forgot. You see me looking through my old stickers there, my sticker stash, and I was like, I need some more stuff on here. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be using flowers. So in just a second here, you're going to see me pull those flowers in. And I decided to use the wood veneer in the center of that doily because it is kind of like a doily look to it. And I think it ties in the brown too. So, and there I am pulling in the flowers that I made. And these were made from crepe paper, and I made my own flowers. Now I didn't include that in this part of the layout video because I didn't want to make it last too long. I do have, if you will hold tight, at the very end of this video, I do add the video that shows how I made those. So I didn't want to bore everybody else. If you don't really care how I made the flowers and you just want to see the layout, I didn't want to bore everybody and make you, sit through that. So I added it at the very end. Even after the close-up shots, it'll go right into the video where I make the flowers. So you can see how I made those. They're made with crepe paper. And I just did them in white. And then what I wanted to do is mist them. So I did want them to be that bright color. So I'm actually going to be using the Delusions mist again in the yellow. And I'm kind of just spraying them lightly because I wanted them to have like a variegated look so the white really shines through, and it did come out that way. So the big flower there kind of fell apart a little bit. So I just decided to go ahead and glue it together to kind of tack it together. I had tied it in a knot with the thread and somehow it came loose. If you watch the video on how the flower puts together, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I just glued it with some hot glue and put it back together. And I pulled down my vintage buttons. I have this jar of vintage buttons that I had bought and some time ago, and there's just the coolest buttons in there. I love vintage buttons. So I'm going to go through there and I'm going to pull a couple of buttons out to use for the center of the flowers. And when I glue the buttons down, it's going to kind of hold that in place a little bit more. And the first one I pulled out was this really cool plastic flower button, and I thought it was the cutest, so I went with that. And then I did find another really cute red button. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue those to the center of the flower, and that's going to be the center there. I'm trying to get that one to get put back together. It kind of split apart. That one I glued together. I didn't tie it in a knot, I glued it, and it was much better. So if you do make the flowers, I suggest just gluing them together. It was quicker and it stayed together better. So, and then what I did, kind of pulling those petals apart because I was working with them. They kind of mashed, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I get to the point where I actually make the flowers. And then I'm adding that little tag there that says, "Hey girl." That was in my, what I call my bits and bobs drawer, my little drawer that has just little pieces thrown in there. That was in there. And I'm going to add that large flower right there to the bottom left. And then I'm going to add the smaller flower right there towards the end of the title. And I like how you have the triangle, the yellow and the triangle, the splattering and the ink at the top, and then the two flowers. It kind of gives you that visual triangle. And I'm going to go ahead and start putting everything else down and adhering the rest of it down. Sorry, my head's in the way. And I wanted the Heidi Swapp arrow in there because I liked the pop of black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some black splatters as well. Because when I use color like that, I sometimes just like the pop of black that it gives. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover up my photo and my title area because I didn't want to get black splatters on that. And I'm just doing a few in the upper left and bottom right corner to just kind of bring in some of that contrast in the black. And you're going to watch me mess it up here. I swipe it with a paper towel. I was so upset. But there you go, swiped. So smeared my little splatters. But I didn't want to mess it up by trying to fix it, so I just left it. It's one of those things that you just deal with. And then I'm putting the black arrow down. And then I'm going to do my date stamp, and I'm pretty much wrapping it up here at this point. I just want to remind you to check out Teresa's channel, Craftin' Mama, and I'll do a link to her channel below. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it inspires you to get some of your own stash out and put it to good use and build you a great layout with it and have fun with it. You can certainly do that. And I'm giving you some close-up shots here, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I need to put something on that wood veneer. So here I am trying to fiddle with it, and I was trying to find, I wanted a star, but the gold one didn't work out, so I dug in my Studio Calico stars and found a yellow one. And I decided that that would be perfect. So I went ahead and added the yellow star to the center. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up. I'm going to go ahead and give you some close-up shots. If you're interested in seeing how the flowers are made, hang on, because after the close-up shots, I'll go right into that video on how to create the crepe paper flowers. Okay, and thank you so much for stopping by. You have a great day. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's Sherry again, and here we are putting together the crepe paper flowers. First of all, what you're going to want to do is you roll out about an 18-inch strip, and you put 2 strips together. And this is like super fast forwarded, so I'm going to talk really fast. And then you just fold it over a few times, as you see me doing here. And then you take some scissors and you just simply cut a rounded petal shape off of the top. And then you want to open up, I've got it double layered so that I can have petals. And so then what you're going to do is you just take a needle and thread and you tie a knot at the end of the thread, double knot it, and then you just weave it. So the thread, just weave it in and out the edge of the crepe paper. Now, anybody can do this. I cannot sew on a button, and I did this. So don't let the needle and thread intimidate you. It's very easy to do, and it just took just a few minutes. It didn't take long at all. And you're going to just weave it in and out, and you're going to tie it, put a stitch through that, and then when you pull it together, it gives you the petals. Now this is the point where you take the 2 threads and you just tie a knot in them. For whatever reason, mine came apart. You saw when I missed it that it came apart, so I don't know if I didn't have it tied well enough or if it ripped or what happened. There it's fine, but it ended up falling apart. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling the petals apart so that you can actually see a little bit of dimension there in the flowers. And so you just carefully pull them apart. You don't want to pull too hard because they will rip. So you just kind of split them, and it kind of gives a little bit added dimension and makes your flower fluffier. And then I wanted to make a smaller flower, so that's the larger one. And then you're going to take the same strips, only this one I did about 12 inches long, and doubled it over, and you're going to cut the same petal. You're going to fold it over just like before, and then you're going to cut the petal shape. You're just going to cut it down the flower, down the strip a little bit more so it's shorter, and that's going to give you your smaller flower. You do the same thing, and you just weave it in and out and pull the thread through, and that's going to when you pull the thread, it's going to actually give you your flower. And what I did here, instead of tying it because it was smaller, I just tied it off at one end, and then I glued it together. I glued the petals together. You can see here I just tied it in a knot, and then I glued the petals together to complete the flower. That ended up working out better, so I'd probably do that on the larger one next time because it stayed together better. And then you're going to carefully pull the petals apart, and there you have your 2 crepe paper flowers. So I hope you take this and maybe you can use it on a project or something, a decoration coming up soon. All right, thanks again. You have a great day. Bye-bye.